Got the dash bar put in the boat, the first part of it. Right now we got the biggest seat out of the boat, and we're getting ready to cut the flat part off the top so we can use that as our dash across there to save on the big 1/8 inch. Oh, we got 1/8 inch aluminum over there, which is going to go on the top of the boat, which is probably overkill, but that's what I got. So we're going to try to use this thinner stuff and save a little bit of money. And we'll obviously get rid of all the crap on it, but I've got my little shears. I'm going to cut this stuff up, see what it looks like in there. We got the dash bar put in the boat, the first part of it. Right now we got the biggest seat out of the boat, and we're getting ready to cut the flat part off the top so we can use that as our dash across there to save on the big 1/8 inch aluminum over there, which is going to go on the top of the boat, which is probably overkill, but that's what I got. So we're going to try to use this thinner stuff and save a little bit of money. And we'll obviously get rid of all the crap on it, but I've got my little shears. I'm going to cut this stuff up, see what it looks like in there. Out here, got this part of the dash put on. It's just got some screws holding it in for now. That's basically going to be our dashboard. Then we got another support welded in here. So this is going to come down at an angle to make it mimic the lines of a windshield. Obviously it's not going to do anything for that, but that'll give us a place to tie our decking in here. And then we'll have another piece that comes up, and then we'll probably build a little bit of a framework here because this isn't very thin, and I want it to be really solid because I'm using this part here off the Sea-Doo that the motor came out of. It'll be drilled and cut into here, so it'll sit flush up against that, and then we can modify this shaft hopefully to put that steering wheel on it, which is out of another boat that I got the motor out of. And I've got a switch panel here out of the boat, which I may or may not use. It's got all the switches I would need, and it's got a key, which might be nice instead of just a button, but that's for a much later date. Right now we're just going to be working on finalizing the framework for this, so then we can start mounting the steering and figuring all that out. Well, after a little bit of trial and error, finally got the first two pieces cut out for the support for this windshield. Fits in there pretty good. Those are just sitting there. I'll take those down and make probably at least 2 of those to start with, 2 of each, so I can put 1 on each side, and then I'll run one of these in the middle in between them, because I was going to have these 2 pieces meet at a peak in the middle, and then I thought, well, if you run into something or something happened, you don't want a sharp edge right here. So I'll have this, so that'll give you a blunt thing you could smack your head into instead of a sharp thing. Plus you could use it to stand up and stuff out of the boat and make it a little more ergonomic. So we'll get some of these traced out on some other pieces and get them cut out. Got the 2 pieces mocked up on here. Nothing's getting welded yet. Been working on a steering wheel mount. So I've got this, which I traced off of the jet ski that this came out of. And then I'm going to hold this up here. Wherever it's going to go, we'll trace it, and then we'll clamp it together and just drill it out while it's together. That way everything lines up, and then we should be able to bolt this hub on and get started on the steering wheel mount, because I want to get that done before I get too many tubes and things in here where it's going to be hard to work. Got the steering hub mounted. Got this in here. It's going to be mounted sideways, which still gives you the same amount of turning, but it lets us mount this piece, which is what holds the cable for steering. It'll mount it on the bottom instead of the top, so we'll clear our cowl piece or whatever this is. Also, we changed how we're going to lay out the bars for the dash. We're going to put a solid one up here, And then we've cut our other pieces so that they'll go on the inside of that. And that way our piece of deck metal here will go straight to this, and then we'll have another piece that'll come up to here. And we're gonna get these pieces ground down where they look good in there. We'll measure it, and then we're gonna tack those in so the windshield piece will be pretty much set in place. The steering mounted in the boat finally. This will still have to get cut off. I did a test weld there to make sure that it was aluminum, which it is. So we ran a piece down off of there, and then came another piece up to here because it wasn't really working out the way we thought. But it's plenty solid, and we'll just come in off the bottom of this and run some guides for the cable whenever we run the steering cable up here, which we're going to do that before we deck anything, just so it's easier to work on and make sure we get that figured out first. Getting this cable set up in here, I've got this piece of aluminum that came out of an old boat throttle handle, because this is a boat throttle cable. Because the jet ski one isn't long enough, it only comes to over there because we switched sides with it, because this other cable is really long, so it runs around the front of the boat. And it's gonna tie, we're gonna have this piece welded to something on the side of the boat to hold it in, and then we're going to use this part off of the jet ski to hold this part of the cable, and then we're just going to bolt these together real tight, and that should do our steering for us. If not, we'll try to figure something else out, but we tested it with everything clamped into place and it seemed to work all right. So right now I've got the welder going, and I'm going to weld this piece onto our steering bracket, because this is how this cable goes, and it's moving over there, so that means it's working, I think. Get this welded on. Out here working on the steering today. We've got the steering shaft out of the JetJon. Cut the end off. It's right there. So got it cut off, and I got a piece of aluminum that I cut a hole in the middle, and then I cut it out with the nearest size hole saw to what the middle of the steering wheel is. So we're going to set that like that on this bolt to give us a little bit of a valley. Then that's going to sit in there, and we're going to weld it solid, and then we'll get the steering wheel set up on this and drill and tap these holes to bolt the steering wheel to, and that should be plenty stout for what we're trying to do. Got the piece in there, got the holes drilled and tapped. I went ahead and bought nuts because I think I drilled the hole one size too big, so the threads didn't cut in very deep. So now take this and put it on, and then we'll be steering the boat. Got the steering wheel bolted on. We're going to cover this up so you don't see that. We got a little plug, but it works. That's all the steering you get. So I'll show you from the back of the boat. When you steer it, there it is. Out here working on the boat. Had to redo our braces on the rear bulkhead. We cut them and moved them over because we were going to put the gas tank in here, and it was just a little bit too narrow. So we trimmed the jet ski hull, extra material that we didn't need, out of the way, and then we cut our bars off and slid them over so we can clear the pipe. And this is our tank. I took everything off. It'll sit just like that. We got clearance around the pipe. We're going to run a strap from this piece around to that side to hold it in, and then we're going to run a piece of angle on this side just to keep it from flopping around this way. And we've still got room on that side for the oil tank to go, so it can mount in the stock location, and that'll have the fuel source figured out. And we'll just shorten all these lines from when it was sitting in the front of the boat, and be one less thing to worry about. Yeah, that'll sit just like that, and we'll strap it back down to the tank like it was before. Got the braces welded in, got the gas tank sitting in there. It's pretty snug. We'll still put a strap around it this way and maybe one over the top to keep it down. The oil tank will still sit on that side, which it'll be strapped to the gas tank. And then we'll shorten our filler necks so that they'll fit under the hatch. After we got the gas tank mounted, got the mounts made for it, we started working on the sheet metal that's going to go on the front side of this bulkhead so we can get it welded in, and then the gas tank can go into its forever home. Took entirely too long. We got this piece cut out. This is 1/4 inch thick, which is probably overkill, but it sets in there pretty good. So we're gonna weld that to the angle from the back side. Then we'll trim the top to fit, because nothing on this boat is straight, so it's hard to measure a straight line. We're going to leave it open at the bottom, that way if any water comes in, it can run to the back of the boat through the bilge pumps. And we're just going to weld it to the bulkhead, and then we'll stitch a couple welds along the sides, and then that piece will be mounted. Got this piece welded in. We're going to come back through and smooth these welds off on the top. That was just to keep that gap nice and tight, but it's not rattling, which was our main goal. Next step is we'll probably get the gas tank in there and mounted, and then we'll probably work on the engine cover. Got the boat cleaned out, didn't film much, just got to work. Got the gas tank in, got the oil tank mounted, got all the fuel lines shortened. Right now we're messing with where the wiring and stuff has to go. We still need to do a throttle cable, and we need to mount the choke, which I'll probably just mount in this bulkhead, because you don't use the choke very much, and if I need it to start, I can just lean over the seat and pull it. Looking at exhaust options, which is going to probably go through the hull down there in that corner behind the bilge pump. But that's where we're at so far. Kind of cleaned it up, makes it not look quite like a mess. The gas tank is offset to the left side just to offset my weight when I'm riding in it. So, and the battery will probably go on that side also. Working on our engine lid. We've got our pieces tacked together. We mitered our corners so that it'll look kind of nice from the outside, won't have no big holes. We're just tacked together now. We'll probably pull it off the boat since we got our gas tank and stuff mounted. Find a flat surface and lay it down, and then weld it up solid, and that'll be a good start. Then we'll have a couple braces added in the middle, and it'll be sheeted with the same material here. So we'll have a nice solid lid. But looking pretty good so far. Got the piece all welded up. Ground the welds down. They don't look the greatest, but you won't see them because this will be covered with a sheet of aluminum. We're still figuring out what we're going to do for bracing, because the reason this is so thick is so that it is taller than the pipe, because I didn't want to cut a hole for the pipe to come through. So we'll probably run, for now, we'll probably run one brace right here that'll come right behind this spark plug. And then we'll see how that feels, and if it's still a little too flimsy, we might run one front to back. So we're also planning on putting hinges, probably 3 hinges across the back of it, stainless probably, to hinge it up. And I've got some gas struts I'm going to try to make work so it'll hold itself up about yay high, so you can work on it if you need to, or it'll be fully removable if you have to do major work on the engine. All right, we got the frame on hinges. All we did up back here was I had to put a shim in because of the height difference between the back of the boat and the angle. And then we got 2 1/4 inch bolts holding that on. We might add a third. And then on the other side, we've got some big old honking rivets holding that on because I didn't have any way to get a nut on the back side, and I didn't really trust sheet metal screws. So we got those on both sides. It's pretty solid. So next, all we got to do is add our supports in and then skin it. Got this top panel cut out. It's just sitting on here. I tried using the skill saw. I can't really cut a straight line, I guess, with a skill saw, so I ended up finishing up with the Sawzall. So there's going to be a little bit of trimming to do. I don't think it looks too bad. We'll get this tacked on, and then I'm going to, when it's tacked on solid, I'll come across the front with the grinder, make it flush with the framework underneath. And that'll be our engine cover, minus a few braces that we haven't added to the bottom side yet. But I'd say it looks pretty good so far. Got the hatch up. It's all welded all the way around the outsides. Just need to clean it up a little bit. It's got a nice shine to it. This thing is a little bit heavy. Still got to add a brace underneath also to get the flex out of it. And to help hold it up, got a set of gas struts. I'm not sure what they're off of. I got 2 of them, so try to get those mounted on there to hold it up for us so we can work on the boat without that thing falling on our head if you have to mess with it when it's in the water. That's going to do it for this video. We got the whole engine enclosed. The next video we'll be working on getting this part covered up. We got more of this 1/8 inch to cover this piece. Got to get a piece for the front of the dash. That'll probably just be painted black to make it look kind of like a windshield, but that's going to do it for this video. Next one we'll do the front, the seat, and some wiring probably. But thanks for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe to see what happens next.